Yamunatira Yamunatira Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Yashodhana Braja Janaran Parivrajaka Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 4. You did text 9 yesterday, Gokulananda Prabhu. Text 9, you did 9 yesterday, right? No purports. You read them? You read the verses without purport? Okay. Then today we'll do text number 14. Text number 14. Bhagavan Risha Samnya Atmatantra Swayam Nitya Nivritanartha Parampara Kevalanandanubhava Ishvara Eva Vipratitvat Karmani Arambhanaha Kalena Anugatam Dharmam Achareno Napaishkshayam Atadvidam Sama Upashanto Maitra Karuniko Dharmartha Yashap Prajanad Damrittavradona Griheshu Lokam Niyamayat. Word for word, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishabha, Samnya, named, Atmatandraha, fully independent, Swayam, personally, Nitya, eternally, Nivrata, free from, Anartha, of things not wanted, birth, old age, disease and death. Parampara, the continual succession, one after another. Kevala, only. Ananda Anubhavaha, full of transcendental bliss. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, the controller. Eva, indeed. Viparitavat, just like the opposite. Karmani, material activities. Arambhamanaha, performing. kalena, in course of time, anugatam, neglected, dharmam, the varnashrama dharma, acharanena, by executing, upashikshayan, teaching, atatvidam, persons who are in ignorance, samaha, equipoised, upashantaha, understood by the material senses, maitraha, very friendly to everyone, karunikaha, very merciful to all, dharma, religious principles, artha, economic development, yashaha, reputation, praja, sons and daughters, ananda, excuse me, material pleasure, amrita, eternal life, avarodhena, for achieving, gruheshu, in household life, lokam, the people in general, niyamayat, he regulated. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Being an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Rishabhadeva was fully independent because his form was spiritual, eternal, and full of transcendental bliss. He eternally had nothing to do with the four principles of material misery, birth, death, old age, and disease. Nor was he materially attached. He was always equipoised, and he saw everyone on the same level. He was unhappy to see others unhappy, and he was the well-wisher of all living entities. Although he was a perfect personality, the Supreme Lord and controller of all, he nonetheless acted as if he were an ordinary conditioned soul. Therefore, he strictly followed the principles of varnashram dharma and acted accordingly. In due course of time, the principles of varnashram dharma had become neglected. Therefore, through his personal characteristics and behavior, he taught the ignorant public how to perform duties within the varnashram dharma. In this way, he regulated the general populace in householder life, enabling them to develop religion and economic well-being and to attain reputations, sons and daughters, material pleasure, and finally eternal life. By his instructions, he showed how people could remain householders and at the same time become perfect by following the principles of varnashrama dharma. Purport. This is less than half the size. The varnashram dharma is meant for imperfect conditioned souls. It trains them to become spiritually advanced in order to return home back to Godhead. A civilization that does not know the highest aim of life is no better than an animal society. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nate vidu swarthagatim hi Vishnum. A human society is meant for elevation to spiritual knowledge so that all of the people can be freed from the clutches of birth, death, old age, and disease. The varnashram dharma enables human society to become perfectly fit for getting out of the clutches of Maya. And by following the regulative principles of varnashram dharma, one can become successful. In this regard, see Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 21 to 24. I forgot to bring my Bhagavad Gita. If I can have a Bhagavad Gita as it is. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This verse is describing how a responsible, well, of course, he's the personality of Godhead, but more importantly, a responsible person lives within society. There are certain personalities who live within society but are totally cut off from it. They don't relate to the society. They don't follow anything that is cultured. You will see Lord Rishabhdeva will head towards that because he's fully realized his Paramahamsa feature or nature. Before exhibiting the Paramahamsa nature, he exhibits the life of a responsible citizen or a leader. There are two kinds of persons who don't fit society. One is on the lower end, called Shwapacha or a Chandala, not even considered a human being. For them to come up to Shudra stage would be a great achievement. And on the other extreme is the Paramahamsas. They're above the Brahmanas and they don't relate to the world in a material sort of way, or they don't relate to the world, period. Now, Vaishnavas are generally the personality of Godhead, Krishna, and all of his pure devotees. They don't fit. They are considered to be the Paramahamsas. They don't have to interact within this world. They don't have to belong to this world anyway. Yet they do. And that's what's described in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, texts 21 through 24. Krishna gives the example of great personalities setting a standard, setting an example of proper behavior, of proper culture. Yad yad acharati shreshta tat tat evetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. In this verse, yad yad acharati and tat tat evetaro janaha, the word yat appears 3 times and tad appears 3 times. However, yad yad is for emphasis. And yad yad, there is more emphasis given to acharana and half, if you will, emphasis given to pramana kurute. Pramana kurute means what they say. So there is higher emphasis given to behavior than to the words one might speak. Although both are important. As we say, prachar means to say things, and achar is to behave in the right way. When I use the word right, I'm sure we don't pick up like the worldly sense of right or wrong. I'm talking according to the principles of bhakti, the right or wrong. So there is a greater emphasis on behavior. Because people, when there is a doubt between what someone is saying and what someone is doing, if they ever have a doubt in one's character, they will generally focus on what one is doing and focus less on what one is saying. And a person who's in integrity, I read a very nice statement, I forget who said it, So I don't want to misquote, but they said integrity, I think this is Sachinandan Maharaj, but integrity means to be truthful to oneself, and honest means truthful to others. So it's very important that not only in one's speech does one say the right things and all of that, but one's behavior is also in line with the speech. Generally, there is a disconnect. Speech usually is higher and behavior is not up to par yet. For a person who's in full integrity, their speech and behavior will be perfectly aligned. Yet, oftentimes we have to have speech that is far beyond our behavior. At that time, we speak principles. We don't speak realization. So, that distinction, if it is clear, then people are still comfortable with that. Oh, speaking a principle. And that principle is aspirational, and that's fine. But if one speaks a principle as if it is realization, when the realization is not there, then people will not feel that such a person is trustworthy. Although they may be very attractive. There are so many professional Bhagavatam speakers. In fact, I can confidently say none of us will match their skill and the expertise with which they can recite verses, with the expertise with which they can speak from esoteric shastras. They're very professional, and when they speak, thousands of people come to see them. And they sit on a big, high seat, fully decorated and, accompanied by orchestra and the whole shebang. But we don't know. We can't say that the behavior is also like that. They may swoon while doing the Bhagavad Katha. But it's not necessary that it's full realization for them. I'm going to come back to this point from a practical perspective. But these verses in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm going to read the English translation. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems. Nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Krishna is describing the principle that a person who's a leader, I will come back to who's a leader, a person who's a leader needs to set the right example by their speech and behavior. And Krishna is speaking about himself, that even I follow this principle. Although I have nothing to do in this world, I have absolutely nothing that I'm looking for from this world, yet I do perform my prescribed duties. What is the prescribed duty for the personality of Godhead? There isn't. Yet, depending on how he has appeared, within what varna he has appeared, within what ashrama he has appeared, he will follow those duties. And he says, if I don't do so, then others will also follow me, because people like to imitate the personality of Godhead, both constitutionally and, materially, conditionally. Constitutionally imitate means because we are parts and parcels of Krishna, there is the sense of independence or individuality. And materially, because everyone's trying to be God, be the controller, be the enjoyer. Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. Small Loka Maheshwaram. Everyone wants to. They can't say Suhrudam Sarva Bhutanam. Suhrudam, my own friend. Gyatvamam Ashantim Rachati. So much disturbance in the mind. But that's the principle they follow. They want the controller, the enjoyer, and they think they can benefit others just by their presence. I am the blessing to this world. Like that they think. And if someone doesn't think like that, I will eliminate them. So Krishna says people will imitate. They will take my example. Oh, Krishna did so. This is one big reason Lord Ramachandra, of course, I'm not talking esoteric reason here, but externally, the reason Lord Ramachandra sent Sita away was following this principle. Sita Devi was abducted by Ravana. And she was there for almost a year. And for 1 year, he was trying to convince her, cajole her, brainwash her into accepting his proposal for marriage. He could have forced himself on her, but there was a curse by Vedavati. Vedavati was a Mahayogin who was not interested, not to be followed, who was not interested in Grihastha life. And she had dedicated herself to Lord Ramachandra or Lord Narayana. So she was performing very severe tapasya in the forests. And by the dint of her tapasya, her body had become extremely effulgent and full of what is called tejas. So Ravana, who was flying in a stolen airplane, he had stolen Pushpaka Vimana from his brother Kuvera. So he was like what's it called? What do people call who rob or steal cars? There's a term for them. Carjacker? Well, whatever. But he had stolen Kubera's airplane and he was zooming past and he looked at this good-looking girl and he said, yeah, whatever he said. And he said, whoa. So, in modern time, we find Ravana versions only. It's just the language might be changing, the modality might change. It's the same behavior. Looked at a pretty girl and honked and stopped, screeched, halted and came to Vedavati. And he said, look who's here. So she ignored him. So he further tried to, sweet talk her. She was not interested. She was not like Purvachitti, with a plan in mind. She was like, get out of here. So he forced himself on her and it's said that he raped her. And she became so angry that she cursed him. If you ever again force yourself on another woman like that, you will immediately die. And he knew this was not some lady saying something. He knew her prowess. So from that time he was careful. When he abducted Sita, he couldn't force himself on her. So he was trying to convince her, come on, hey, look at Rama, dwelling in the forest, wearing tree bark, matted hair. Look at me, I'm so good looking. Look at so much opulence I have. My whole city is made of gold, etc., etc. And she told him, go fly a kite. So he waited. And so when finally they built the bridge, killed Ravana, finished his golden city, all of that, and brought Sita back, Lord Rama and Sita were happily, they thought ever after, they were living happily in their palace. And as a king, Lord Ramachandra every night would sometimes wear a disguise and go out into the city of Ayodhya to find out how people are doing. Are they happy? Are the Brahmanas doing what they're supposed to do? Are the Vaishyas distributing grain properly? Are the Shudras working properly? So he would wear disguise. And one day he saw a washerman and his wife fighting. Even Lord Ramachandra had to solve Grahastha problems. So he saw a washerman and his wife fighting, and the washerman kicked his wife out of the house. So she was crying, "Oh, take me back, take me back." He said, "Get out, get out. You're an unchaste woman." In Vedic standard, if the woman spent even one night outside the house, then she was considered unchaste. So he told her, "You get out, you're unchaste. I am not like Lord Rama who keeps a woman who stayed out of the house back or accepts her back into the house. I'm not like Lord Ramachandra." So those words pierced his heart. And he said, "Oh, if this is how I keep Sita Devi, everyone else will follow that example. They will point fingers that something adharma was done." There was no adharma actually. So he asked for Agni Pariksha and all the whole long story. But anyway, so he asked Lakshmana to take Sita Devi and leave her in the forest. She was pregnant at that time. Now most people will get disturbed, like how could he be, he needs Grahastha counseling. Come on, you don't take a pregnant wife and leave her in the, so what if you're the personality of Godhead? She's the mother, internal potency. All that we'll leave for the wranglers, but we'll follow Lord Rama's example is what he was doing. He performed. I'm not saying we should leave our wives. That's not the point here. I'm saying even Lord Ramachandra took very severe actions to setting the right example. There were so many proposals to Lord Ramachandra to be married. And he said, no, I have taken the vrata of Ekapatni, only one wife. The Shurpanaka proposed. Shurpanaka is Ravana's sister. She proposed, today I'm digressing completely from the class, but you get the idea. She proposed to Lord Ramachandra, "Please marry me." Lord Ramachandra said, "I'm already married. My brother is single." So she went to Lakshmana. And Lakshmana said, "If you marry me, you will have to live a life of being a servant, because I'm always a servant to Lord Ramachandra. My wife will be a servant to Sita Devi. There's no fun in being the servant. Go marry Lord Ramachandra." So she went back to Lord Rama. Rama told her, "I'm already married." Lakshmana is. So she went back and forth, and they were playing with her. So finally she got frustrated. And she said, "If Sita is the obstruction here, I'm going to kill Sita." And she pounced on Sita Devi. And Rama and Lakshmana immediately cut off her nose and ears. And she came as a beautiful woman, and then suddenly her hideous features appeared, and they made it even worse because they cut off her nose and ears. So she went back to Ravana crying. "Ah!" So that vrata is important. The sages of Dandakaranya, they proposed to Lord Ramachandra, "We're so attracted by your beauty." Lord Rama said, No. Even if you become damsels, I cannot accept you, not in this life. So when he appeared as Krishna, all that was taken care of. But even as Krishna, who goes way beyond rational behaviors. Rational behavior means dharmic behavior. Mostly dharmic behavior is rational. Living with wife, managing family, going to work, spending money properly, giving in charity, speaking nicely, not fighting with anyone, respecting women. Krishna went way outside all of that. He killed Putana in the beginning, killed Bakasura, killed Agasura, danced on Kaliya's head, danced with the wives of other people, did all of that. Took away the garments of young women who were bathing in the Yamuna. Not only did he take away the garments, he told them, if you want your garments, you should walk out of the water like this, with your hands raised over your head. They said, no, we are shy. We cannot walk out like that, and it's very cold. He said, if you want your clothes, that's how. So they finally had to raise their hands and walk out saying, Krishna, we fully surrender to you. It's a beautiful pastime Jiva Goswami talks about. So Krishna's behavior is way outside dharmic rational. Yet, Krishna says that I never violate dharma. Why? Because people will, in the guise of following my example, do things that are crazy. And they will say, Krishna does. Therefore, while Krishna does things that are outside the realm of, rationality, he challenges us, can you follow that example? For example, can we dance on Kaliya's head? Can we lift up Govardhan Hill? If we like rasa dance, we should also lift up Govardhan Hill. So things Krishna does to separate himself from the normal jivas. Yet, he behaves like one of the jivas. And Rishabhadev also did like that. Although he was way outside the varnashram system, he was way, way beyond Brahmana. He was Paramahamsa. He was the personality of Godhead. Yet he lived and behaved like an ordinary person. Lived with wife and children, performed his duties, encouraged others to do so, to set the right example. As devotees, we carry the same responsibility. While we can't say for ourselves that we are way beyond Varnashram, in our case it may be true that we are way beyond Varnashram from the lower end. Kirata Honandra Pul. I came from Andhra, so I can say that for myself. Kirata Honandra Pulinda Pulkasha. Abhira Yavna Tumba Kashadaya. Oh, the whole race, there's a whole long list of people who are not even considered human beings. They're considered very sinful by birth. Yesterday we heard being born in Bharatavarsha, day before yesterday. One is so fortunate. Being born in Bharatavarsha, while that is fortunate, according to karma, misfortune is one may be born in Andhra. Like that. Andhra is a place in South India. And people usually think, I am from Andhra. So he lived within Varnashram's framework because he created the Varnashram framework and set the right example. As devotees, we have the responsibility to be cultured. Now there are two cultured behaviors. One cultured behavior is the worldly sense of what is cultured. And then there is the devotional sense of what is cultured. Yasyaste bhakti bhagavata kinchana sarvair gunair tatra samasate suraha. The one who's a devotee, all the wonderful qualities of the demigods manifest within the person. Harava bhaktasya kuto mahatguna manorathena sati dhavato bahi. And while one who's not a devotee, how can they have any good qualities? They're just simply wandering on the chariot of the mind. So people of the world, they definitely exhibit good qualities, no doubt. Some of them are very cultured. But the definition of culture is misunderstood. Culture, in the modern context, is if you have a college degree, or if you eat with a fork or spoon, and you speak refined language. Yet, from a devotional perspective, all of that is nice, But if a person is devoid of devotional quality, then those wonderful qualities are decorations on a dead body. So a devotee has double responsibility. A devotee cannot say, since I am practicing Krishna consciousness, I can be whatever I want to be. Because yasyasti bhakti bhagavati kinchana. That verse doesn't apply like that. We have double responsibility. Not only should our speech, thoughts and behavior be refined from a worldly perspective, they should be even more refined from a devotional perspective. So each one of us, the moment we put on a dhoti, we put on the Urdhva Pundraka Tilak and the Kantimala, and we have Harinam on our tongue and Japamala in our hand, we suddenly become ambassadors of the holy name. We become ambassadors of Krishna. So we cannot settle for slapstick behavior. Yelling, shouting, being totally callous, jaywalking on the street, or when we are in a store or outside, doing whatever we'd like doing, saying, after all, we're Vaishnavas, we're the real cultured people. That is not correct. Then we should not put on Vaishnava garments. Once we do, then we carry this responsibility. How we behave in the temple, how we behave outside the temple, how we behave with each other. Very important to be cultured. And this is not a show, we don't put it on. If we put it on just for the sake of, then it's the same, manorathena asati dhavato bahi. So we should be careful, we should be conscious how we are speaking, how we are wearing our clothes, how we are interacting with each other, the people of the world. All of that. It's very important. Because people will look at us and say, oh, that is nice. I would like to be like that. But if our behavior is really bizarre, if that's what being a devotee is, I'm happy not to be one. So as soon, that's what it means. These are flags. We carry these flags of wearing Vaishnava clothes, Kantimala, Tilak, Japamala. Then we should be conscious. I'm a devotee. Each one of us, whether we like it or not, by dint of wearing Vaishnava attire, we are the representatives of the Hare Krishna movement. The entire world is judging the Hare Krishna movement simply by looking at each one of us. That's a very, very grave responsibility we're carrying on our shoulders. We cannot be, like my father would say, it's not monkey business. Or they say in America, you cannot be horsing around, right? That's a phrase. You cannot be horsing around. One must be. One of the features of gravity is to know, hey, who am I representing? And especially if we take Diksha, then the responsibility grows even more. Because now we are directly part of Achyuta Gotra. And we as devotees are really the Shreshthas, whether we like it or not. The Shrestha means the Vaishnavas are considered to be the highest personalities in the entire creation. What is our behavior? How is our behavior? We should be careful. Lord Rishabhdeva is showing by his example how to be and how not to be. Although we might say we are liberated, Prabhupada said already if you're practicing devotional service, you're considered liberated. Well, we shouldn't take that, lightly. Oh, I'm liberated. not like that. We are on the path of liberation. Yes, that is true. Being on the path of liberation and being liberated are two different states of existence. We continue, we will become liberated and back to Godhead. Fantastic. And that should exhibit in everything. How we eat, how we leave the dining table. I pick on this because something Murari has been talking for years together. We eat prasadam and you come and see the prasadam hall. Floor is dirty, the chairs are all over the place, the table has not been cleaned up. This is not cultured behavior. How we perform kirtan, how we go out. How many times we've gone for Harinam and how many times we've announced, please walk in pairs, please walk in pairs. And 30 seconds later you turn around and we're everywhere. We've taken away the entire sidewalk. And we were all over the place. This is not culture. People are like, wow. There's a story of Satsarup Maharaj like that. He was traveling with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada was at the check-in counter, and Satsarup Maharaj was late, so he was following behind, and there was a queue. And so he was carrying Prabhupada used to travel with a white briefcase. So he was carrying that, and so he pushed himself through the crowd and somehow came, trying to get to where Prabhupada is. One elderly lady stopped him and said, young man, they don't teach you in your organization how to say excuse me or be polite or something like that. And for him it was like a shock. Wow, I am representing Srila Prabhupada here. And by my such behavior, this lady is thinking that my spiritual master did not teach me the basic etiquettes of being cultured. Wow. So how we eat, how we speak, how we dance, how we present ourselves, all of that is very important. Because we carry that responsibility. It's not frivolity. Krishna consciousness is not about frivolity. Oh, now I'm a devotee, I can do anything I like. Like Prabhupada one time with Shrutakirti Prabhu. He chanted his 16 rounds, then moved that 16th bead down, put his bead bag aside and said, 16 rounds, done. Now I can do whatever damn thing I want to do. He was imitating the devotees. That till 16 rounds, somehow, the monkey is controlled. After that is all over the place, The devotional service is not buffoonery. A very serious matter. And Rishabhadeva is setting that example, the tone of a cultured Vaishnava. Prabhupada was asked, Swamiji, how will we recognize your devotees? And he said, my devotees, my boys and girls are perfect gentlemen and ladies. It doesn't mean we put on tuxedos and, all the prim, and that's not the gentleman behavior. But he means very cultured. Cultured in the sense that when people see, hear, and think about the devotees, then it becomes an aspiration for them. I want to be like that. I want to be like them. Because devotees are the best role models for society. How to live responsibly, etc. And in all, we're not here as a finishing school. We're not just trying to be cultured here. There's a purpose. Nate vidu swarthagatim hi Vishnu. Or in our case, vidu swarthagatim hi Vishnu. We know that our ultimate goal is to attain Vishnu. Otherwise, for most people, we'll be connecting to Krishna in hasya rasa, in the humor rasa. Just be horsing around, but that's... So the point is, when we study Rishabhadeva's life like this, we pick out for ourselves how to apply this. Yes, it's very nice, Rishabdeva is outside the Varnashram system and all, but what's the lesson for us? That we carry that responsibility on our shoulders, very grave responsibility, to act, think and speak in a very cultured manner. And that comes. Before we were devotees, what kind of language were we using? I know, my gosh, every other word on a good day was some 4-letter word or something. But language has become refined, the topics we talk about have become refined, the aspirations of life have become refined. From durashaya, we've become, durashaya means impure aspirations. Durashaya ye bahirarthamanina. When people have impure aspirations, they look away from Krishna. And by looking to Krishna, our aspirations become pure. So, any comments, questions, Ashrayadas? Oh, for that matter, our cultured behavior includes, do we turn off the lights? Do we turn off the sound system? Do we put the room back in its order? These are all, as a Vaishnava, how we interact. And we don't turn off the lights when the class is going on. We leave the lights on after the class is over. Oh, Himanshu, I'm just pulling your leg. You may want to turn off this also. I'm speaking too much.
One thing that's going to happen for sure with people being attracted to Krishna consciousness is we may be coming from, or others, a place with lack of culture. So, there's some lag in being able to pick up culture and also practicing Krishna consciousness. So my perception is that we all want to have some position in association of devotees if we're actually interested in practicing Krishna consciousness. So the thing that happens is I want to be a part, I want to, be, part of the Hare Krishna movement or whatever, which is fantastic, But it seems like if there's not a system where people can do that at whatever pace they can genuinely do it, then it just then we're just all representatives of the Hare Krishna movement because there's no other place for us to be. So, do you see it? We can all just say we're going to become gentlemen overnight, but which is fantastic if possible. But I see rather that there's a nice system of bhakti vriksha or I don't want to say varnashram like in the Vedic context, but something like that makes it natural so that everybody can be connected and at the same time not be in an artificially overwhelmingly sort of responsible position that they're not really actually capable of maintaining. Does the thoughts, make sense?
Sure. Our process of becoming cultured is to the process of hearing. When we hear about Rishabdev, we hear about topics, that's what is the impetus to move to the next step, whatever that next step is, small, big, tiny, fractional, infinitesimal, but there is movement. And Krishna recognizes that there is movement, that one is even trying. And the best indication that I'm trying is to ask. Is this the right thing? Is this the right behavior? If I don't ask, that's an indicator of interest. Therefore, we lay so much emphasis on jigyasa, inquisitiveness, is to ask. But yes, that's right. The Bhakti Vriksha system, for example, or the Bhakti training program is like the filter. What's the program? It's a program to refine and make ourselves cultured. Yes. Thank you. Jitendra Prabhu?
I was thinking of a phrase that I hear often in Iskcon, or in general. Your action speaks so loud I can't hear a word you're saying.
Is that your conclusion from class?
Pardon me?
I'm just kidding. Yes.
And then I was thinking, not to point fingers or anything, but the Catholic Church is, suffering a great deal because of the activities of the priests. 17% of their collection goes towards litigation, of what the priests have done. So we have to be, exemplary.
And hardly any money comes to us because we're still horsing around. Let's fix home first. Anything else? Acharya Nishta? Okay, he's deferring to Shriman Yaya Sammohitoji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a wonderful class. So if we have noticed that we made a mistake, in retrospect in our behavior, maybe it's not a good example for, people who are aspiring or as representatives of devotees. Should we kind of repent in our mind, or should we tell somebody, or if it's not like a big deal, or how should our mentality be?
If there is a way to actually go back to the situation and correct it, then we should. If there is no way to go back and correct it, then we deeply repent it. And express it to Vaishnava, express it to the deity, and repent it. So that, guess what? Krishna will put us in that situation again. And gives us an opportunity to rectify that. If we can. Suppose if you're flying in a plane and something happens with someone, to find that person again is impossible. But if it's a store that we often go to or something, we can always correct it. Acharya Nishta Prabhu.
Thank you. I guess I just wanted to kind of inquire about, on the other hand, well, we see Srila Prabhupada's whole mood in the beginning for new was to bring a lot of inspiration, enthusiasm, going out on Harinam all day. It seems a lot of the consideration wasn't, how does the public feel about it? But this is the Yuga Dharma, this is what the spiritual master has asked. And the more that we become enthusiastic about it, the more we become inspired, the more the Sankirtan movement can spread by seeing that aspect.
That is correct.
I guess one concern is just, where to draw the line, because on the other hand, I've had an experience where perhaps, in the name of being, we should be sober, we should be...
I didn't say we should be sober.
Well, I'm just saying in experience.
Yeah, but when you raise an objection, then you're indicating that I might have said that. I didn't say, when the Harinam party goes out, people are like, who are these people? It's not like we'll wear tuxedo and do Harinam. That was not my message. The spreading of Krishna consciousness is the real culture. Therefore, I distinguished between real culture and the Maya culture. And I said that the devotees have double responsibility. I was clear. These topics I'm usually very conscious or cautious. We have double responsibility to not only establish the real culture, at the same time, be human beings. It doesn't mean that because we went on Harinam or in the name of book distribution, there's so many things happen but devotees, I don't even know those terms, where they would take away more money, especially from sailors and such persons. I don't know the phrases, but someone else knows. You know the phrase? What was it called? They would give a 50, ask for change, something, and end up with, the change up. And we can say, after all, it is coming for Krishna. You understand? That's why I use the terms of integrity and honesty. The highest dharma, the real culture, is to go out, spread the holy name, distribute Prabhupada's books with integrity and honesty. And we're wearing dhoti, and for some of us it may be white, some of us it may be saffron, and we stand out as bizarre in the crowd. That's okay. That's the real culture anyway. Yesterday I found myself in a title company closing on a property on behalf of Kishore Kishori and Prabhupada, and I was dressed in Vaishnav clothes with tilak, and they didn't know who walked into their buildings. Like, who's this guy? And I was haggling for $100. I was relentless because I was thinking it was Krishna's money. We can't just let it go. But I never uttered or said anything disrespectful to the person. Not that I'm the right example, I'm just saying I was conscious of it. Tomorrow I may not be. I also found myself the other side. I said something to some Vaishnava that was not proper. I've tried to repair that as well. Like that.
What you're referring to is how the attention of the people in general goes to the dark spots on the moon. So similarly, so you're saying one blemish can turn them away. So I think that's what is that.
Not just blemish, just being conscious of being cultured. Now, how Prabhupada was. Prabhupada was clean, organized, neat, refined. Of course, we cannot imitate, but what an example, what a standard he has set. We can work for lifetimes to get there. But in our small sphere of things, we can try to do the same. That's all I'm talking about.
No, I certainly agree. I guess I'm just thinking as far as like going out.
We should go out.
That perhaps there's a potential that, not perhaps fully understanding this point, a decrease in enthusiasm can result, where the devotee is thinking, we shouldn't be dancing so much or so much, in the sidewalks. And, as followers of Mahaprabhu's mission, it seems like there may be some...
Okay, so let's take the dancing, for example. The point is not that we should not be dancing in the sidewalk, but we should not be throwing people from one end of the room to another, their dhotis coming off. Right? That's not dancing. That's gymnastics or something. That's not dancing. You understand? Swinging and circling, all that's fantastic. That's very attractive. But do you say that everything that we do is attractive? I don't think so. What happens is, very soon, from devotional expression of joy, we enter the realm of frivolity. We forget. That's my objection. It's not that we cannot have fun in Krishna consciousness. We should. In Krishna consciousness is the most joyful thing. And there is a time for certain frivolity, if you will. When Lord Chaitanya took Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and all his close associates to Narendra Sarovar, they behaved like small children. They were splashing water on each other. They were spraying water like this. And Lord Chaitanya, Advaita Acharya was lying down, and Lord Chaitanya was on him as Anantasesha and Vishnu, and they were, sporting and all of that. But that's not how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was every day. You understand? So dancing and kirtan is one thing, and dancing joyfully is another thing, and being frivolous is completely another thing. I'm objecting to being frivolous. I'm not objecting to dancing. And my point is, we are responsible for knowing, hey, I'm crossing the line into frivolity here. That's my point.
I guess my concern is just specifically we're mentioning this point, dancing the temple, for some of the brahmacharis. On which side would we rather be having devotees perhaps not so enthusiastic or able to express a lot of energy, or on the other hand being a little bit over-enthusiastic, but with the purpose or the result of being a lot more inspiration in devotion?
Is it?
Sometimes,
really?
Yeah, I've seen that.
I disagree. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of jumping around. I don't think that that's necessarily inspiring. They may be inspired that, that's how I get out my youthful energy. But that's not... Are the deities pleased?
That would be the ultimate question.
Or so?
And I was speaking with another devotee about this, and just because the dancing more recently has been of a different nature.
Yes,
and,
that's why I'm being emphatic.
We were discussing that the deities looked
happier?
Very much ecstatic.
Please.
So perhaps that's speculation, but
yeah, quite
I spoke
possibly.
with the pujari about it. So
and the pujari told you the deities are dancing too? The deities are happy to see the devotees dancing, no doubt about it, and dancing joyfully. We know what is the line between dance and... Are we saying we can't recognize that line? I would argue against it. I'm happy to have some discussion on it as a group of brahmacharis, and I'm sure. Freely dance. No one's saying don't dance freely. But please look at it. Is it really dance? Just because I have youthful energy. Come on. I disagree. Personally, I disagree.
Do you ever have the feeling that perhaps some devotees could benefit by being more enthusiastic in your training?
Which devotee will not be beneficial by being more enthusiastic? Sure, yes. We all will be happy as we are more enthusiastic.
Do you find that sometimes dancing is a way for them to, like Prabhupada said, if you're not feeling, just...
No, you're leading me. You're leading me into something. When you keep asking questions like that, it's a lead-in. And my answer is yes to all the questions that you're asking. Yes. For some persons, dancing is... I'll give you the example, not just to pick on someone. Jai Jagannath. When he dances, he swings and it's graceful. And it's nice. I won't say that it's true for everyone. Everyone doesn't have to dance like Jai Jagannath. Yeah, they don't have to. That's not the aspiration either. And it's not that he sets the standard for dancing either. That's not the point here. But come on. My point is, internally let's look in as to when it's when we forget that this is devotional expression to Krishna and it becomes frivolity. That's my objection. I'm not objecting to dancing. I'm not objecting to dancing enthusiastically. I'm not objecting. I'm objecting to frivolity. Jai Jagannath.
We know that culturing the internal, it takes a long time.
Yes, that was Ashra's point.
And therefore, we can hardly expect that in the outset we're going to be very attuned to the nature of our internal disposition towards Krishna while we're engaged in our activities. That's something that comes with due course of time. So then, when we're doing any of our devotional activities, dancing is one example that can lead to frivolity. Even when we're chanting japa, the internal culture is all over the place, or doing any of our activities. So in regards to the dancing point, I often wonder if it's just a matter of personal disposition, because when I was in Chowpatty, the devotees would dance pretty wild, especially during the Guru Puja. And many guests were coming, and particularly myself, and there was a few other devotees that would be quite... He was using the word ecstatic, but I might use the word wild. It was quite wild. And it was even encouraged because the devotees it was told that any issues that devotees were having with each other will get solved in the Guru Puja. Like that. That's Chowpatty model.
No, I'm not disagreeing to any of that.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing to any of that. So I'm going to say it multiple times. I'm not disagreeing to that. My point is that internally we should check when we lose the devotional sense and make it frivolous. That's all my point is. Devotionally, we can be wild like anything. I have no objection to that.
Yeah, of course we can disagree.
That's all my point is.
But then we wonder about time factor in that particular arena.
Yeah.
Well, because yesterday, the reason I'm coming down and particularly I'm not making protest, but Gokulananda expressed a concern to Acharya Nisha Prabhu in regards to the dancing. And I disagree with Gokulananda's particular point. So after Gokulananda told Acharya Nisha came to me, and I said, well, I think it's a matter of mood, or different types of moods. Gokulananda is more subdued, and generally speaking, like Daita, who also more subdued disposition. But then you got like Bhakti Chris. I mean, it's a little bit over the top.
Okay, so there we go.
In my personal opinion, it's a little over the top, but that's how he is. And so then I'm wondering about, where are we drawing the line, in terms of what we think to be proper behavior as a Vaishnava and, personal expression in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. So the line is, anything goes is not okay. Okay, so that's my objection. Anything goes is not okay. So that's each one of us to know. We know where the lines are. They may be subtler or softer, but we know where the lines are. When we forget, this is for the pleasure of the deities. Even for singing, for that matter. One can be singing very soberly, full of ragas, but one may forget it's for the pleasure of the deity and one cross the line. It doesn't have to be, then that becomes frivolous kirtan. That's my point here. It's not about just jumping enthusiastically. That's not the point. I'm talking about an internal culture that at least if you're conscious, we may not be at the top level, but at least are we conscious? That was the point. Someone may dance enthusiastically, someone may sing like that, even cooking or cleaning, whatever it is. Cultured is that it is done pleasingly for the deities or Guru and the Vaishnavas. Yeah, so we are caught in the expressions of it, and I said I disagree that this would be okay, because some persons, we're picking on Bhakti Chris, I don't like to take names, but just because he becomes more enthusiastic, rolling and tumbling, okay, that's fantastic. You should attend Aarti just for that reason. I disagree. You understand?
I understand the point. I still think that the clarity between what is crossing the line and not will not be clear for the devotion in our stage of maturity.
I agree. And have you noticed that I have not said anything official about this is okay, not okay? Because I also agree that some people will not like this kind of dance, some people will like it. I'm not going to institutionalize this is okay, that's not okay. All I'm saying is let's not be frivolous.
I'm sorry, the reason I wanted to say something is I know my dancing, I'm a trained dancer, and I got skills in certain areas. And when I would first join the temple, I would be handled sometimes by certain devotees, because they had a different mood in terms of their devotional expression.
I remember Srila Radhanath Swami calling you out from the crowd, and all he did during Kirtan was this to you. And jump up and down. I remember that. Yeah. Okay. Gokulananda. What did I start here? He needs to go to the altar. He is already late. Yeah, go ahead, Bhakti Glenn.
appreciate this being brought up, and it's important, because the enthusiasm we definitely don't want to crush. I think sometimes, though, we can observe things and set some limits.
Yeah.
I've seen people, some expressions on visitors where they were aghast, where someone was up in the air and took a tumble, like that, and I saw them kind of back off. I've seen where one Mataji was walking across the back, and she had to really jump back because she almost got run into. So the enthusiasm is really a nice addition, but we always have to watch. And I guess it's kind of the parent in me, but when I see the spinning and it's going around the Vyasa-san, I know if somebody let go, there are some sharp corners that someone could get hurt. So I don't think it's the enthusiasm, it's judgment with the enthusiasm. And, for me, there's lots of places where, as a neophyte, I'm wrong, or I'm off, and somebody will point that out. And I know it's important that it's pointed out to me, because if it's not, I don't quite know, my judgment isn't that well formed on some things. So.
There are some times for wild dancing, but wild dancing is not an everyday thing. For example, Gokulananda Prabhu, and then Ashray, did you have your hand up? Because this is going to be a long one.
Thank you for the class.
Yad yad acharati shrestha tatta devetaro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokanam tadu anivartate.
I want to clarify myself because of
your name was spoken. Can you speak it?
I don't want other devotees to feel offended. I was talking yesterday with Sraya Prabhu, and then somehow or other a Charanista came into the conversation. But the point is, I think when we talk these issues, have to be in a mature way, because in maturity we understand things as black and white. Like if you say something, you are in the one party. If you say this, party A and party B. Like if you complain something about the kirtan, you don't like kirtan, or if you say something about dancing, you don't like dancing.
Yeah.
But in a mature way, it's like we have other colors, like gray and different degrees.
And gray has many shades.
Yeah, and many shapes. So it's not that one is taking a side. It's but the point regarding kirtan, there is even a kirtan. I think Advaita Swami, Gunagrahi Swami, and others. They make a book on a compilation on kirtan according to Prabhupada, how he liked the kirtan, etc. So there are also a way to do kirtan, and I'm not expert in that, of course. But sometimes we can go out of the line in dancing.
But it makes me more enthusiastic.
And enthusiasm also, what does it mean? Because if enthusiasm means something that is regarding to the energy of the body, then after, when you are 40, you don't come back to temple. You're no more enthusiastic. Or if you are sick, you're not enthusiastic.
Right.
So my point was that, as far as me, I really enjoy when I see the devotees dancing, and also many times I join, others not. And it's nice to see young devotees dancing. Therefore, the way we were talking with Ashraya was this is a nice issue, a nice problem, we can say, because the nice thing is that there are more devotees, young devotees, dancing. But at the same time, there are things that sometimes you want to check, because it's like you say sometimes you have a missile, but have to be directed, the missile. because they have all the potency. But if you don't give a target to the missile, then you don't know what result you will have. So I saw, my perception was that some devout, not just guests, whoever comes here is coming because Kishore is allowing them to come. And there are just not guests. When we say guests, there are also devotees because they come, they're attracted to the kirtan, etc. So I saw some expression of fear during the kirtan, or astonishment. And also I saw a senior devotee that, as far as how I was perceiving, he was a little bit uncomfortable during the kirtan. He's little bit older. And so I just was concerned the mood of the kirtan. Sometimes it wasn't conscious of how others are feeling. Like, I can dance, like we have many great dancers in Iskcon, but whatever you do in Krishna consciousness, when you're aware of what is you're conscious, Krishna conscious, so you're aware of your environment. Like you say in Harinam, like you can be ecstatic in Harinam, but still you're aware of your environment. Like if there is a child, a boy, or an old lady, you don't want them to, you try to harm her, etc. So there is always a call for being conscious, even though you may be ecstatic. So what I was seeing, that we were losing that conscious, forgetting about how others may feel, etc., in the name of I'm ecstatic or kirtan. So that's one. It was the same point I do, I think, that just to check what's going on inside.
Yeah.
I remember in our kirtan, Harinam and Brahmachari party, we were in New York sometime, and we meet two Brahmachari parties, and the kirtan were like really like wild, and it was really nice. But our Brahmachari leader, he took us, everyone, just to have big kirtans. We were doing Guru Puja, and after, he was keeping us more sober, like, because sometimes we become too crazy, and then the temple president, Ramabhadra, didn't like. So he will do a kirtan, and then just a little normal, and then we will go all together to the ashram, close the doors, and all the brahmacharis together, and start a kirtan there. And then we will do jump, and all the things, so all the energy will go there. And in Buenos Aires, Argentina, remember also the kirtans like that, and we will close the doors of the temple and the windows, so the neighbors, they won't see, and we will have like wheel kirtans, very well, like devotees. But we didn't want to give that a wrong impression to other people who may become then not attracted to Krishna because of the misunderstanding. So, I don't know.
Okay, I may not necessarily do the same thing. That's not that we only let's only dance in the Brahmachari ashram. Yeah, you're not suggesting that. Yeah, clear. Yeah, you're not suggesting that. The general thing is we think intense bhakti, for example, we misunderstand intense bhakti to be loud. The louder I am, the more intense I am. It's not necessary. It's not necessary that intensity and loudness have to be correlated like that. There are some times in the kirtan when we have to sing loudly, because then, soft means our mind goes here and there. So there's room for that. But it's not that every time you're loud, that's when you're intense. You understand? In fact, it becomes niyamagraha. His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj was in the temple here a few years ago. He took kartals and he said, somehow we have come to understand in the Hare Krishna movement that unless you play like this, it's not an ecstatic kirtan or something. And he just went on and on and on, the whole class. Some people got really turned off. But he was saying this, is that the intensity of bhakti does not have to translate necessarily all the time into loudness and that. There is room for all of that. There is place for all of that. Yes, there is place for all of that. Okay, final famous last words, Ashrayadas.
First thing I wanted to appreciate, because I feel like it's something that has been instituted in a way purposefully to get energy out in a healthy manner, as some of the devotees were appreciating. Even though that's not my personal modality, if I have enough energy to dance at all, I don't have that much energy. So, but I can appreciate that others do. So I think that there's a good purpose to it. And Jai Jagannath Prabhu, I've seen, he encourages devotees to use their energy positively. So I appreciate that angle of it very much. At the same time, I think that we're losing something if we don't learn from the way Srila Prabhupada taught us to do these activities. We're losing the chance to learn that culture that he brought. So my idea, although you're saying that this is something you might not necessarily do, my idea before he even said it was, you go do some jumping, dancing kirtan in the wedding hall or something also, if it's not enough for you in the temple room. Hey, why not? I'm not saying that should be the program. I'm just saying, why not?
Not in this wedding hall, because
maybe
it's already enough.
The ceiling will fall down.
Enough granite, and the structural engineers have told us that more weight will destroy the hall.
That's the problem.
But in principle, dance somewhere.
That's the idea. So I'm not advocating one thing or the other. I'm not an authority to advocate. I'm just expressing my feeling that there's value to both things.
Sure.
And if we can somehow get both things, I think that would be doubly beneficial. Because the culture is something that we want to learn as devotees so that we can come to a higher level of refinement in our consciousness, and also it's a preaching tool, etc., for so many reasons. At the same time, I have the practical situation of my body. I need to deal with that, so what to do? Something should be there.
Very easily we got caught into dancing as the only feature for culture. My lecture was about other things. How clean is our ashram room? How are we hanging our clothes? How are we leaving the dining table? How are we speaking with each other? How do we leave something behind? How are the bathrooms? My whole discussion was around that. Yes, dance somehow came out to be like the central point, and there was a lot of energy and heat and agreements and objections around it.
I think that's the only one you can justify. You can't justify leaving food all over the table.
Correct. I may be dancing very enthusiastically in kirtan, but sloppy behind. This is not okay. That's not culture. Or I may be I'll pick on myself. I may be very sober in my dancing, but because I have a bad knee. Oh, that's cultured. But if I don't wipe the table after I eat, or I just drop something and I don't care, spill everything and just say, oh, whatever, that's not culture either. That was the point. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.